In a world where we have Baskin-Robbins 31 different flavors of safety devices, let me explain to you and tell you why I think the JessEm Clear-Cut Stock Guides are by far the leading safety device you can get aftermarket for your table saw. Let's get ready in 3, 2, 1.
For centuries, chainmail stood as the pinnacle of safety. But in today's world, safety takes a new form. Out with the old, in with the new. Introducing the JessEm Clear-Cut Stock Guides.
Happy hunting, Mr. Wick.
All right, you guys, welcome back to the General's Workshop. So excited to be back with you guys today because we are going to be addressing the simple known fact that the number one tool inside the shop that causes a life-changing injury is none other than the table saw. So today I want to help you guys understand one of the number one upgrades that I have done in my shop that has taken my quote-unquote pucker factor from max to simmering it down a significant amount. So let me show you real briefly what this is. So as you guys are considering your shop and how you can keep it safe, there's a couple different reasons for considering one of the JessEm stock guides in addition to which table saw you actually get. This one is a cheaper option, but I want to mention something as a caveat right there. When you come to the idea of talking about cost, I'd love you to consider to also plan for the reality that if you were to lose a finger or you were to even to partially take one, imagine the cost associated with that, and more important for me, not the cost.
But what will be my function after the injury?
With that being said, let's just say you've absolutely come to a spot where you can't afford something like a SawStop and you want to go, well, what's my next kind of price option? To me, the next in line would be the JessEm stock guides, and that is these right here. And these actually serve a couple different purposes. One, this is not only for safety, but also for precision. So when I'm looking at this, there are a couple different things. You'll notice that on these JessEm stock guides, once they're set appropriately, and the way that you do that is you're actually going to take your board, whatever surface it is you're cutting. You can do a multitude of different thicknesses, but you're going to take this little plastic bottom rim, not the actual tire, if you will, that's on there, and you're going to put that all the way down against your stock, and then you're going to tighten this up. Now, there's a couple things you're going to notice. One, in order for me to lift that up, there's a spring tensioner here that keeps it pressed down. Why? Because oftentimes when you're pushing a larger piece of stock through this, you start to have it lift, and it wants it. This will automatically try to help it push and keep it flat, if you will. All right? So once this is down, you set both of those up in that same fashion. Obviously, you're going to have the first one in front of the blade, this one behind the blade. Then you're going to tighten that one up as well, and these will come up. Now, as you're pushing it actually through, from a safety perspective, there's multiple things happening here. One, this is affixing it, almost like a featherboard would also help you do, but this is going to make it almost, if I try to, now notice I can pull it through, but that's a significant amount of pull for me to get that back through. And so it's going to help prevent kickback with the table saw. And from an accuracy perspective, one of the other things that you're going to notice is that for this, it's actually going to take your board, and I'm going to intentionally have it quite a bit away from the fence itself. Now, this would never be the case. You're just not going to. But for the sake of showing you this example, and then I'm going to push it on the insidemost part, which should keep propelling the board away from it, right? So if I were to do this, and I was to do it here, notice how the board's going to travel to the left, okay? So keep that in mind as we're doing that. So I'm starting away, pushing here. It's naturally, why? Because the runners on this are naturally, they're canted and tilted. So they're going to not only keep your piece down against the table saw, but they're also going to angle it so it naturally drives it into the fence. Therefore, your cuts will be more accurate. So it's going to be riding on this first one. Now the second one is going to kick in, keeping it tight against the fence as we're pushing this through. Now, some of you might be wondering, are there any limitations that are associated with this? And the reality is there are, but they're worth it, right? So for me, when I think about this, I can cut 3.5 to 4 inches is going to be my the extent of which I can get as far as the cutting piece. Why? Because now that the blade is up, you can see that there's not a whole lot of space for me to utilize a push stick or anything of that nature, right? It just makes it very challenging. So I would say that's one of the limiting factors. What some people will do when you're doing that is they'll take the first one out of play. So here's that 3.5, and they're going to run it through, right, keeping it flat. Right? You're going to keep it flat, pushing it, and then once it gets to this part, now the second one's going to grab, and then they can go ahead and continue pushing their piece through like so. Now, let's say you have another a variety of size that you want to actually do. The way that you just set that up, you put that in here, like we said before, you loosen this. This will come out, and again, you let that bottom ridge rest against her, tighten it down, then you take this out. And then just like that, now it'll be set up for that particular thickness. Very easy to use. All right, so let's go ahead and now let's get into the build. All right, so we're gonna start off by getting some measurements here. So we've got 35 from front to back, but I'm gonna add a little bit of distance so I have something to hold on to. So 35, and my total width is just shy of 3 inches. Now, the stock that I actually ended up buying from Home Depot was, all right, so we're gonna be cutting that piece at 37.5. So we're gonna mark that at 37.5. We're gonna flush cut the end first. Then we'll do the other side at 37.5. All right, so take that, and I'll bring it over here. So now I'm going to take that stock that's 37.5 inches. I'm going to start by ripping it down, and I want to be very careful with this to make sure that I'm creeping up on it. So I'll probably end up doing a couple of cuts just to see how it fits. I like it. I'm going to give myself a reference, so I'm going to go all the way down the middle at 1.5, with this being 3 inches wide. I'm going to come down at 1.5. Now that I got my center, what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to measure from the end. This is going to be for the distal side, or that far side. I'm going to go 1.5 inches, so I'm going to mark off 1.5 inches as it relates to that center line, and then also 3 3/4, which is where I'm then going to use my Forstner bit. This is a 40 millimeter Forstner bit that we're gonna, there we go, just like that. And then I've actually done a chamfer around here just to make it a little bit easier for my handling. And then I'm gonna actually take and do one at the other side that's at the 1.5 inches as well coming in. So that's gonna leave me with a board that's just like this. I've got my center line. So now we can go ahead and prep the mag switches. One of the things that I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna be taking this countersink and I'm gonna be boring here as well as here, just to allow me to get a flush recess, if you will, of that screw. That way it doesn't stand up kind of like this. I've seen some where it's standing up like that if you don't countersink, and it's proud of the surface. Not that that really changes it functionally, it's just more of an aesthetic thing for me. So I've got that done. Now let's go ahead and put on our stock guides. So I'm gonna get this kind of centered, and right there. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's see how it fits. There we go, flush it up with that back side. Activate the mag switches. Okay, that's good. That's pretty hilarious, and not at the same time. In case you hadn't noticed, these are on backwards, so I'm gonna switch these around. Not a big deal. Just like a T-track, these fit right up in there. And just like that, we're back in business. Then just reinstall the mag switch here. Welcome to the General's Workshop / We Never Make Any Mistakes. Oh wait, that wouldn't be true. All right. There we go. Mag on. Mag on. All right, we're gonna set this up. All right, you guys, to finish it up, we're just gonna make sure that this one is loosened and installed in front of the blade. So I'm gonna tighten that back down. And then this one is behind the blade, which it is, right there. There we go. We are all set. And then the last thing I was gonna show you is the only other thing that I really did is you're gonna notice on this far side, I actually used a 4-screw bit and just a little bit bigger than this little magnet that I have. And I took 2 magnets, figured out the distance, drilled in so I could super glue one inside that hole, and then also so that this one I super glued on the back part of it. Just goes just like that. And then I've got a tape measure that's there anytime that I need it. Hey, you guys still with me? All right, you guys, hey, super excited. This build went actually super well. I'm hoping to next week to get to my French cleat system. And what I've done is I've actually put mine inside of a cabinet just to help protect it. So I'm hoping that that'll be next week. Just want to give you guys a sneak peek. And hey, if you haven't already seen my storage / drill driver station that has a natural pull out and tip down feature, go ahead and check out this video right up here. And I'd love for you guys to check it out. Hey, likes are free. Hey, shoot dang, have an amazing day. It's Easter this weekend, so I hope you guys are all blessed.